This is a critical area where Republicans and Democrats agreed. It was one of the best meetings. It's the best meeting I think we've had so far, although we've only been here about 5 weeks. It was like the old days. People actually were on the same page.
Welcome back. That was President Joe Biden yesterday after a meeting with bipartisan group of lawmakers about supply chain issues. The meeting included a number of Republicans, a couple of even who questioned the election results, some who had planned to object to the electoral certification, and at least one member of Congress who did, John Joyce from Pennsylvania, who did object to certification. And yet the White House invited them, and they were all there. Now, one of those senators, Republican side of the aisle, who was there was Indiana's Mike Braun. Senator Braun, you heard the president there. Do you concur with his remarks that it was one of the best bipartisan meetings he's had so far?
Well, he hasn't been here a long time, but the meeting, my first time over there with him, I thought it was excellent because you're talking about something like semiconductors, where that's increasingly being built outside of the U.S. and state like Indiana, where the auto industry is a big deal, they're running out of them. So talking about how you get the supply that is in place and kind of move it around to make sure we don't shut down critical industries like the auto industry, appliances, and many others. So I thought it was fruitful. I thought it was everybody engaged. Everybody had a chance to speak their own 2 cents, and I like that, yes.
Look, this is an issue where there is some broad support, but it's easier said than done. The rhetoric is all there. Hey, we've got to make this stuff here. What's realistic, though, about, okay, semiconductor plant, go?
That's the disconnect, Chuck, because the business I ran for 37 years, logistics distribution, pointed out yesterday, when you've got a supply chain glitch, whether it's at the manufacturing end or the distribution end, if you've got a demand more than 5% than what you're currently used to, that causes kinks in the system. 10% shuts some of it down. With what we've had with COVID and so forth, a lot of that you can't do overnight. That's why I think the realism that's set in, some of this is going to have to be preemptive, and we may not get there on time on semiconductors, but we got pharmaceuticals. We got all kinds of other things that we use, like rare earth minerals. That's mostly housed in China. So, yes, that's a bipartisan issue. We ought to all roll up our sleeves, and you normally need time to fix the problem. You really do.
All right, let me pivot to the minimum wage, and let me present an argument an advocate for the minimum wage would say. Okay, and taking the CBO analysis into effect, it may increase the deficit. Well, a lot of these businesses just got a massive tax cut over the last couple of years. That also increased the deficit. And $15 an hour is, okay, it's barely a living wage. We're not talking about people getting amazingly rich here on minimum wage. So what do you view as the downside to a $15 minimum wage? Under that, like I said, an advocate would point out these deficit issues. Hey, tax cuts went to these business owners.
You know, I can't disagree with any of that, really. I'll qualify it a bit in this sense. I just got out of the budget meeting, and it was a robust conversation, probably went 2 hours. And my point was big difference between Main Street, places like Indiana, in terms of our cost of living, and Wall Street with the businesses that, you know, are touting $15, $16 an hour wages. Many places in my hometown, which is Main Street, pay that or above. The business I've got always prided in raising wages and raised some eyebrows when I said that's a responsibility of business owners if you want to keep good employees. Chuck, it's one size fits all. If you had the minimum wage to where you differentiated it by cost of living, and whether you differentiated it maybe by the type of wage, training wage, full-time, part-time, then you'd be maybe hitting the mark to where you aren't going to lose any jobs. But if you do it one size fits all the jobs will be lost on Main Street, small business. Costco was interviewed today. Love what they're doing with their benefits and their $16 an hour wage. If you kind of make that relative to their capability, it should maybe be a lot higher. And many small businesses, employees are like family. They pay their employees before they take money out of their business. You throw a one-size-fits-all, you're going to eliminate some businesses and jobs. I'd like it to be more thought out, not rushed. It's a big deal. I believe in raising wages because there's inequality in this country, mostly between large corporations and people at the lower end of the food chain that are coming into the labor market.
Well, let me ask this then. Is there a better way to incentivize wage increases? Because let's be frank, I don't think the tax cuts have had the impact on wages that many people advocated that they would. Is there another way we should do this outside of this mandate?
Chuck, again, in my own company, kids and a good young executive team run it now. We've raised wages for truck drivers 20 to 30%. In the market pre-COVID in Indiana, in the lowest unemployment county in the state, my home county, we bid up wages. And the market is really going to be what dictates it. And then you're going to see where there's, I think, more obligation to do what's in the spirit of what Bernie Sanders is talking about, where the larger companies kind of brag about it. We've got a lot more capability. Those tax cuts mostly went to big C corporations that were paying an effective tax rate lower than the new nominal rate at 21%. Main Street, you know, we got a little bit of a tax break. That's where you reinvest, you build those jobs, and two sides of that story, too.
By the way, Senator Braun, you sound like you're not a big fan of that tax cut bill. I know you didn't vote on it. That happened after you got elected in 2018. Sounds like you weren't a fan of that bill. I don't have much time. But were you?
I wasn't a fan for C Corps being the only ones in mind. Went from 35 to 21. Proprietorships, partnerships, LLCs, sub-S's. That's the way most small businesses roll. They got a break that they needed from 40 to 30, roughly, and that part was good. That should have been the priority. A few business owners that were in the Senate had to make sure that happened.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, it would have been the big guys again that got all the benefits.
Senator Mike Braun, it was a short visit, but I appreciate you coming on, Republican from Indiana. Thank you for coming on and sharing your views with us, sir. Always appreciate it.